Hello, hello, hello again. We had a little technical difficulty. I'm waiting for Mr. Tim Perez to pop in. Stuntman, actor, producer, pilot. I believe he's military too. He's that guy. Here we go.
Let me change my camera some doggone how. How does it do that?
So there should be like a little swirl. It used to like two arrows. One.
There we go.
Hey,
That, I see you and I see me. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing, sir?
Good, 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 good.
So
Well, we've been,
this has been a while in the making. I'm glad we're finally here. I'm glad I'm finally able to talk to you. I've been wanting to for a minute now.
yeah, we've been chatting for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we know some of the same people in common.
Yeah. How is your family? How's everyone?
Everybody's good.
Good.
Hey, we're all being all we can be. Yeah.
Good to hear. Good to know. So I guess I want to dive right in. I want to talk about uh, how did you get into the arts? What was your entryway in?
Well, actually, as you mentioned earlier, I'm a pilot. So about 14 years ago, I guess, I was sitting at my desk planning a flight, and my back seater, the guy that ran all the survey equipment in the plane, came up and threw a newspaper. You remember those things, right? They print them out. He threw a newspaper on my desk, and I said, "What's this?" And he pointed. He said, "Look." I looked at it, and it said, "Extras needed for prison scene for a Lifetime movie."
Mm.
And it was in my hometown. I was like, okay, well, I can do that. So I submitted my stuff to the extras casting company. They called me, so I went and did work the night with them and developed that relationship. So from there, they would just start calling me for all kinds of background stuff, but usually it was prisoner, biker, gangster, that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
I'd be the guy getting arrested in the opening scene of a movie or TV show. So from there, I started doing independent films.
Yeah.
But I was on a video shoot one time, and a young fella was in the scene just before me. So I used to mentor kids a lot. So I love mentoring folks. So I was just hobnobbing with them, mentoring a little bit. And I saw a lady with her back against the wall with her arms crossed watching us. I assumed that was mom. So when we were done, I walked them over there, and she had her arms crossed, and she said, "I've been watching you with my son, Kason, and I really like how you've been interacting with him."
Mhm.
And I said, "Thank you and all that." And she said, "You have an agent?" I said, "No, ma'am." She said, "You do now," and handed me her card.
Wow.
So I happened to be at the right place at the right time, and I was one of the first ones to get on with the Janet Van Dyke agency when she was converting from being a manager to an actual agency. So it's a fluke. It would not have happened if my backseater hadn't thrown that newspaper down in front of me and
Wow.
said, "Hey, take a look at this." And I wasn't looking for it. It wasn't something that I aspired to do.
Right.
So from there, then with the agent, I was able to start getting into network shows and movies, and went on and developed, an IMDb with currently 40 credits. So moving along.
I
But
mean,
that's how I got started.
your resume is nothing to sneeze at. You've been in such shows as The Walking Dead, Ozark, Star. These are some big shows on big networks. W- When you first walked on your first movie set, since you're now with the agent, what was that like for you? Because I know that was a whole different world.
Yeah, the thing is, it's kind of like you throw a frog in the pot and you turn the water on and boil slowly. So the good thing is I didn't go from the street to set. When I started as the background, I was able to work my way up. So when I ended up in front of the camera on a network set, I'd already been around.
Okay.
But so the intimidating part comes from now the cameras are on you, and you need to perform at $75,000 a minute or whatever it costs us to run these productions, and you don't want to mess up.
Right.
So it's a little different type of pressure at that point.
Yeah.
You're the you can make it or break your scene.
Yeah.
So
So you have a farm, don't you, down there in Georgia? Don't you live on a farm?
we do. We board horses. I'm
Okay.
looking out. I can see horses out my office window now. Hmm.
Oh, so when I come to Atlanta next, maybe I can get some horseback riding if I come your way.
You can muck the stalls. You can groom a horse. Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
You
I
want them
don't
to
mind a
settle
little
their
work. I
dog.
don't mind a little work for that. And I love horses. I was riding horses since I was 6, and I kind of missed that part of my life. So when you move into the world of Hollywood and you're having all this stuff happen to you, but you still live a regular life. Like you still have your own life that you live outside of that. Like this type of work isn't your sole existence.
No. Correct. Yeah, well, I'm a pilot, so I have been for 20, 21 years, I guess. And I was flying when I started doing the acting. And back around 2009 or 10, I decided to take a break from flying to be available for acting full time.
Okay.
And then I've been back and forth. Then I took a break from acting, and I was flying full time for about 5 years. I still did a role here and a role there, but I wasn't pursuing it. I was turning down auditions and saying no, 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 no. And then I guess about a month and a half ago, I decided I started a new flying job. So my schedule now, I don't fly that much. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start dabbling back in the acting. So I told my agent to start putting me in for things, and I did 4 auditions about a month ago, and I booked 2 of them. So I've got 2 projects coming up. You know how they are, you just can't say anything, but I'll be on set in Atlanta around Fort McPherson, if that gives anybody a hint, on Monday.
Okay.
And then I have another that's for a TV show, and then a movie shoot next month or January. Yeah, January. And we'll see what happens. So as long as the 2 don't conflict. And the reason I quit one to do the other is because each one of them can be labor intensive.
Yeah.
I don't know how folks can be successful in acting and have to provide a living. Because then you can't at the drop of a hat, go to do an audition or go to do something or go run and do this. And can you have these 3 things done tomorrow? It's labor intensive to be able to be available to do those things.
Yeah. And
So it's hard.
I have a friend, she's an actress and she also has a day job. And it's really interesting to see how she juggles managing getting these auditions and having to do these self tapes. She's at work,
Mhm.
she runs home on lunch, she does the self tapes, then she runs back to work. Sometimes she has auditions, she has to run, on location wherever they are to do the auditions. It's crazy. It's not something that I would ever enter into. People ask me how come I don't do any more acting. That's not a life that I want to I want to tackle.
It can be labor intensive.
Yeah.
You figure, I'm not just making a number up here, but about a half a day. You figure if when you get an audition, there's a half a day of your time committed that you can't go do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got to break down the sides, do your script analysis, whatever, get set up to home tape if you're available to do that. Some people can't, so they have to go to a taping agency, which kind of sucks. So they go do that, and then they have to get it edited and uploaded. So you just wasted or blew, I won't say wasted, but you cut out and blew a half a day of your time. You can't do anything else. So my busiest year, I think my agents and managers, well, I had 3 agents and a manager at one time. They were putting me in for 300 or so projects a year, of which I might do 75 auditions.
Mm.
So each of those auditions, you figure is a half a day. Then if you get a call back, there's another half a day. And if you have to travel, I've been on the road 2 days, sometimes 3, to get to an audition and back. So it can be labor intensive. So if you can't drop everything else you're doing to go take care of that, I just I don't know how these people do it and have a day job.
Right.
It's kind of difficult.
Do you like auditioning? Some people love it, and then some people hate it.
It's a love-hate relationship. It depends. The actual auditioning part can be fun when you're sussing out a character, and trying to make a scene come to life. That's fun. And if you can play with it, that's fun. Where it probably becomes not fun is they hit you up at 3 o'clock and it's the last minute. Can you have this in by 5? Or can you have this done by noon tomorrow? And you're like, yeah. Now you have to try and rearrange things. Then it becomes more of a frustration. But is it fun? Yeah. It's kind of like I said, it's a love-hate relationship. If you make it fun, it can be fun.
Yeah.
But if you let it pressure you, then no, it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, true. Have you been on set with any buttholes? Have you had to work for any crazy directors that have done some crazy, insane things on set?
For the most part, everything's been pretty good. I think I had since what I said in 40 productions, I had one one director I didn't. I'm thinking, dude, back in the day, I'd throat punch somebody for treating me like that. But it's a business. You act professional and you go on. Because there are characters and there's personality, and sometimes you just have to allow for this guy that is having this moment has the world of this production on his or her back.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you just have to give allowances for that. So I don't have that pressure. If I screw my scene up, you send me home, you get another actor, fine, whatever. But this guy's got the whole production on his back. So I had to give a little bit in the understanding department. But as far as, like with other actors and people like that, I have had to get up and walk out of the cast room because, personalities are personalities.
Right.
And sometimes when somebody grates you, they grate you. It is what it is. But for the most part, it's been a great experience. But people are people. I get it in the aviation world too.
Yeah.
I've flown with a pilot I'd like to throat punch on occasion. We didn't have a buttload of passengers back here. I'd love to throat punch you into yesterday, but you act like a professional and you drive on.
Yeah.
Do what you have to do.
So when you get a production like The Walking Dead, was that production already in existence when you came on board, or was that something that you were on from the beginning? Did you start with The Walking Dead when they started production, or did you come aboard after it was already set?
Actually, both. I was an extra. This is back when I was doing extra work when The Walking Dead was getting started. I was one of the Vatos in one of those episodes in season 1, so it hadn't been out yet. It was still just being filmed, and then I was in season 8 as an actor. So a little bit of both. I was there as a background when they were first started filming, and then I was there at in the satellite episode 808, season 8, episode 2, I think it was. I don't remember. As one of Negan's guys.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
A little bit of both on that one.
Negan's guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, okay, this is the question that I really wanted to get to. I'm glad you answered it that way. For a production like Ozark, which I know you were there from the beginning, did you have any idea that that show was going to blow up and be like it was, and how it turned out to be this mega hit for Netflix?
No. And that's the thing. You just never know. As I was on another series that I thought was going to blow up and be a huge thing, and it flopped. It didn't go anywhere. And
Tell me why you thought that. Tell me why you thought that about that particular show.
In my humble opinion, when I was sitting there, we were at dinner break, and one of the producers, the executive producer, was sitting there and was telling us the direction that the show was going to go in on that season, which was season 2. I just didn't think that was going to work. Mm-hmm. That's about all I can really say. And if everybody watched the series, and they'd probably see what I was talking about. But when they were talking about pulling out all the stops and going raunchy and this and that, It's like, well, who then are we marketing this to, as opposed to something that everybody can watch? And I think it had the potential to rival some of the larger productions that have superheroes and have live action type stuff with it. Because my character in that show was the only non-human on the show. Mm-hmm. So I had fun filming. It was awesome. And I was a little disappointed because I think that one could have been the one to blow me up to the top, being that character on that show.
Right.
So it was disappointing, but Ozark didn't see that coming.
Yeah. About the stunt work part and how you, instead of being just a body there in the extra department, how do you move into actually doing the stunts?
Well, I only dabbled in that a little bit. and got a credit here or something or two there, but that's a little more labor intensive, I guess. It's more of a refined skill set where you have to still be flexible and still be able to have some strength and still be able to have all kinds of other skills. So if you really want to be a dedicated stunt person, then that repertoire needs to be worked on, needs to be built. And I wasn't willing to do that. There was only so much I could do to say, well, I can do this. I was a boxer. I was a martial artist. I used to be able to ride a unicycle. I can do these things. So if you need some of that or fight, some choreographed fight scenes, we can do some of that kind of stuff. But other than that, it wasn't something that I wanted to pursue. But those that do, bless them. That's something that they have to keep their edge up.
Yeah, yeah,
To
yeah.
be able to perform.
Oh. And again, like you said, it's labor intensive. That's a lot of work, and it's harsh and physical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
As we get older, I don't take harsh and physical very, very well anymore.
yeah, yeah. What's your dream job? Do you do in that aspect, in that realm of film and television? What's your dream job?
My dream job?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? My dream job?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I've had a few of them, and I considered them all my dream job because at the time my heart and mind, body, and soul was poured into it. So that made it the dream job at the time. But I was saying flying these nice jets that I fly, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But as far as you talking about careers, just a job,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, whatever makes you happy and feel fulfilled. Like somebody asked me what I was going to do when I retire. And I said, I don't think that's important as finding something that that gives you purpose in life. So if whatever it is that you're doing gives you purpose and you enjoy it and you get enjoyment out of it, you can love it, then that's the ideal. That would be not the career so much as does it do for you what you need as a person, as an individual.
Okay. Now the pilot aspect of your life. When did you start flying?
Again, that was one of those things that I wasn't looking to be a career pilot. When I was retiring out of the military, I said, I want something to do as a hobby. So I started taking flying lessons to give me something to do as a hobby. And I said, you know what? I'll be a flight instructor. Then when I retire, I can still flight instruct and make some money. One
Mm-hmm.
thing led to another, and I ended up in front of the owner of this company, and got my first flying job. And then went from there to flying surveying and mapping, to flying charter, to I was a contract combat pilot in Afghanistan for the Army. So I've been able to do a lot of things. Used to fly angel flights, and where we fly folks that can't afford to be flown or transported to their medical treatments and that. And I used to do a thing called Safe Haven, where in the middle of the night we would fly and sneak out spouses from their battered spouse. Am I saying that right? Abused spouses or whatever. We would relocate them and get them away from the course would handle their thing, bring them to us, and I'd fly them away in the middle of the night and relocate them. So all that stuff was very rewarding. I
That's
had no
amazing.
intention.
I never even knew they had a program like that. That's pretty decent. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was able to take that and turn it into most of it into being able to do for others and to be a blessing to others with all those skills. To me, that's the thing. You use your position to positively influence others, or to be able to do for others. And that on set is the biggest indicator for me of a person's character when I look at the stars. Or anybody in a position on set, was how do they treat everybody else and how they treat the background and the extras.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good indicator. So are they using their position to be a positive influence or to brighten somebody else's day, as opposed to making it about them?
Yeah.
Make it about the folks that you have. I have a saying I put out one time. It says, the more authority you have, then the more responsibility you have to do good with it.
True.
And I truly believe that. So if you have that power over others or to influence others, then we should use that for good.
Very true. I had Kevin Johnson, who was also on Ozark as well, and
Yeah, no, Kevin.
he was speaking about I can't think of his name right now. Marty Bird. I can't think of his name.
Jason Bateman.
There it is. Jason Bateman. He was telling me how generous he is on set and how warm and nice and kind he is as a person. And I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, of all the directors and folks I've worked with, I'd have to put him number one.
That's
His personality, his character, and he is in person and as a director, because not only did he star in that series, he was also one of the main directors. He is in person just like he is in his comedies.
Yeah.
And when you got around him, we were having, just to give you an example, I don't know if anybody remembers the toenail scene on season 1, episode 10.
Pretty brutal.
What's that?
That was pretty brutal.
Yeah. Well, special effects have worked up some things with pliers and trying to make it bloody, and I'm giving some what's called BTS behind the scenes now on that. And the pliers weren't working. So, and they were flat nose. I said, can we get some needle nose pliers? So at least I can see. Because what they did was it's dark. They had a little darker because the camera will pick up and light up the room. So it was a little darker. So I was having a hard time seeing the tip of the nail. They had a fake nail on top of his. It looked like it was a pedicure, and it looked like manicure, whatever that word is. And so that was working a little better. And the glue consistency for getting the nail to be able to rip off. We kept doing this take over and over and over till they got the glue consistency right. Sometimes it would come off too easy. I hit the nail, it'd fly off or whatever. Now, during all this, Jason Bateman is duct taped to this chair. Okay, so he's sitting there, he's duct taped to this chair. So somebody asked and said, so what's a safe word? What do we do if Tim accidentally grabs your real nail and starts to take it off? And Jason goes, I'll just say, Tim. Like, okay, so the set roll, yeah. So I was getting frustrated because it wasn't my fault. It was trying to put me with the tool, with the special effects, with the lighting, and to try to get this thing done right. But I was getting frustrated. So Isai Morales, who played Del, we were both sitting on the couch over here where we start our scene. He was on a chair, and I think he was on a chair, and I was on the arm of another chair or something. And he said, Jason, you know this is not Tim's fault. Jason said, I know, I get it. This is stuff that just needs to be worked out. It's all good. And well, I was sitting over there getting frustrated. I had my arms crossed because I'm feeling like it's my fault. Jason leans over, all duct taped to the chair. He goes, hey, Tim, it's going to be all right. Okay, buddy? I mean, here he is, all the pressure on him to make this happen. And he's calm as a cucumber, and he's reassuring me, right? So obviously we finally got through the scene because people tell me they still curl their toes when they see that scene or think about it. But yeah, it worked out. But it was a painful process to figure out. But anyway, yeah, great guy. I said all that to say yes, he was a great guy to work for.
That's and it also, like, when you have someone at the helm like that who can keep their calm and has that kind of disposition, it kind of sets the tone for everybody else on set for the most part. You may have some outliers, but for the most part.
No, absolutely. If he had come in and was a little spaz case and was hyperspastic, that would have trickled down. And everybody else would have been acting the same way. So sometimes you just got to take, and when that does happen, then what I have to do is take my breaths and don't let them get inside me and start affecting my performance and what I have to do by getting me antsy and jittery.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to control yourself if that starts happening around you.
What kind of jobs that come to you where you automatically say yes to? Like, in your mind, before you even get to see or read anything, is there anything that comes to you that you're like, yeah, that's what I want to do, or that interests me?
Well, mostly I get the, biker gang member kind of roles, prisoner. And I can do that pretty easy. That's no problem. So I do get excited when I get soccer dad, kind of roles where I could play just the average everyday guy and not have to be a tough guy. And what I would really like to do is comedy, because, the comedic, some comedy scenes, because I think that could be fun too. So I get excited when I get those auditions, the comedy ones, or like I said, the soccer dad.
Yeah, that's pretty.
But it's a little different than playing a murderer or a prisoner or somebody rips off toenails. Which that's fun too, don't get me wrong, but just a different kind of fun.
Is there anything that you've ever turned down that has probably been something you later on said, maybe I should have done that?
No, because if I turn something down, it's because I have a moral objection to it, I guess, if you will.
Okay.
I'm not doing that. And there was one particular production, the casting directors kept hitting up my agent 5 times in one day, trying to convince me to take this role they wanted me to have. And every time I said no, and they'd come back, no, no, no. Once I put my foot down for something morally, then the answer is no. Unless they're willing to change the scene, change the language, or change something like that, the answer is no.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine just called me the other day. He got a recurring role up in Canada on a TV show. He's been excited about it all summer, and all of a sudden script changes came out, and they went a different direction with his character, and he turned down the role. They couldn't get around it. He said, "I'm not doing that. I refuse to do those things. That wasn't there when you first wrote this character, and I accepted it. Turned it down. Sometimes you just have to do that." I had a manager at one time that had told me, "You're an actor, you do whatever." No, I'm not. She's gone. I mean, I had another manager too since her. She's a great lady, but just a different thought process.
Yeah.
And some people will do anything for the art. I won't.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely can wrap my mind around that because at some point, depending on what kind of actor you are, you have to embody portions of that character. And if you don't want to embody any of those things, then you wouldn't want to take that part on. I understand that completely. Yeah.
yeah, and it's challenging if you work for we work hard to get these auditions and to get that ding when the email comes up and it says, "Here's your offer." And you're like, "Yes, I booked something." And but when those come through, and you got to make a choice. And when I make the choice to say no, and I've noticed a lot of folks will probably fear that saying no will burn bridges or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I've said no to several casting directors that over the years, unannounced or unsolicited, they will still call and put me up for an audition. It didn't burn any bridges. They said, "I get it. Understand."
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that because that's something important because you kind of hear all the time, the no's kind of get you frowned at or put out of a room or not called back because of no. But yet and still, the other way around no, we're supposed to accept those. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know what? If you're morally going to stand your ground on something, then whatever that cost. If it
Yeah.
costs me that job, if it costs me that future with that person, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
That's me.
Yeah.
But I would say, this is my career. I got to do what I can to forward the career. And everybody's free to make that choice.
True. True. How important are those relationships to you when you're on set?
First, every relationship, every person I meet on set is important to me. I treat everybody the same. I don't treat anybody any different.
Mm-hmm.
The janitor will get called sir by me. My waiters, the hotel staff, wherever I am, that's even in life, get called sir or ma'am. They get shown the utmost respect. Everybody does. So if I'm talking to the director or if I'm talking to an extra that's doing something over here, they're going to get the same treatment from me.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the relationship, it's business.
Mm-hmm.
So just like in piloting or whatever, these other pilots that I meet or business owners that I meet someday may want to hire me to be their pilot. So we treat those as business. At that point, it's just business.
Yeah.
Maintain the business relationship. But in the pilot world, I don't really get put up to do things that are ethically or morally. Nobody's asked me to run drugs for them or anything like that. And of course, if they did, I'd say no.
Right.
But we don't typically get put in those positions in the aviation world. But as far as the scenes and the types of characters we just talked about, you will in the acting world. So it's business. I
Yeah.
treat everybody with business. And just like, and I don't do it to gain anything. Everybody gets respect, period.
Right.
But that person that's the background over here that someone might be trying to treat with less respect than they do the director or the star, well, who is this person out in life? That could be a doctor or a lawyer or a surgeon. It's somebody's son, father, brother, mother. They're important to somebody.
Very true.
They're important and significant somewhere. They may not be on this production, but they are out in their other life.
Yeah.
But everybody deserves that same respect.
So,
And until they don't, then, then if they don't, then they won't get it. But
yeah. Have you ever been able to mix the two? Have you ever been able to mix the aviation with your acting world at all? Have those two worlds ever collided? In a good way. Good way.
Well, there were a couple of independent films that used an airplane I used to fly. You know, I was able to do that. But there have been a couple of times when I was flying charter, a passenger recognized me because they had just seen Ozark, or they had just seen Pitch Perfect, or they had just seen something, and then they're standing there like, they'll go, Dad, and then they'll put it together, or I'll have to help them go, yeah, that was, oh, yeah, I knew that voice, or I knew that was you, or something. So that's happened a couple of times where my passengers recognize me. Yeah.
I'm not going to keep you all afternoon because I could probably talk to you forever. I guess one of the last things I'll ask you is, I know that your entrance wasn't typical, but if someone wanted to get into the industry now with what you know, what would you tell them? What kind of advice would you give them?
Number one is network. Keep a little log of everybody you meet. Some of the independent films I got when I was an extra on a real production, some of the production assistants, the PAs and other people were out trying to make their name in the industry. So they're doing films.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell folks in the aviation world the same thing. Network, network, network. The current job that I have now, the guy that hired me, I've known for 20 some years, and we would always talk on occasion about flying something, this airplane, that airplane. The last time I talked to him, he said, did you just tell me you're type rated on the Challenger 350 jet? I said, yeah. He goes, I did not know that. Let me call you back. He called me back and had a job offer for me.
Wow.
I continued my networking with this guy. So networking is important. Acting classes have an importance. I'm not going to say it's the most important because that needs to be coupled with self-education. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is go out other than the acting class and read books. There's all kinds of acting books out there. And I just bought another one I'm reading, and I've got one in queue to read. I'm always reading acting books. I've gotten so much out of the acting books and doing my own research on the internet to supplement or to complement the acting classes. Because one, unless you're going to a coach or teacher that has been established, that has worked with known, established, and working actors, we don't know these folks' background. What qualifies you to teach me? And we need to ask that question not only in acting but anything else you do. If somebody's trying to impart some knowledge to you, what qualifies you to teach me? Right. And make sure that you're getting sound stuff. So I would say acting classes are important. They're not the most important because it needs to be coupled with, again, the self-education. Get as much internet research as you can, buy books, work with other folks, gain as much knowledge. There's multiple sources of knowledge to get that, and that in the networking. Mm-hmm. And of course, they say headshots, but you need to do the networking, you need to get the education down, and the rest will come together. And the one piece of advice that I would give is the same thing that I give in aviation, and I'll give this example. Typically in aviation, folks will earn their flight instructor license. Then they go out and they instruct until they build enough time to go out to qualify to fly this airplane or that airplane or get on insurance. Well, this one guy came up to me. He said, Tim, I don't want to be a flight instructor. I said, well, don't. Everybody says I have to be a flight instructor to build time. I said, screw them. I said, here's what you do. Get you assemble some clothes, your pilot clothes, business clothes, print out some resumes, do some research, find all the planes that are out there within the distance you're willing to drive, and go out and start knocking on doors. He came back about a month later, all excited. He got this job. As a co-pilot on a Citation jet. He said, I walked in, interview with the guy, and he said I reminded him of him when he was a kid, and he hired me. I go, well, there you go. So my point is, make your own way. There's the paved way, the normal way that everybody's going to be putting their resumes in over here. Everybody's going to be putting their resumes in over here. Then there's the dash line off pathway where you go, you network, and you make your way. You find out how to get to that side over there. You could put your resume in like the other 1,000 pilots are, or you can go around here and network and knock on doors and get to know people. So make your own way. So I would say network, get multiple sources of education and training and information, and make your way. Find a way to make it work. Do the normal way that everybody else is, but find a way to get in front of this person or that person, or develop that relationship with them. Because I've gotten phone calls and projects from relationships I've developed. Yeah. So you put all that together, it's labor intensive. I mean, you need to work it.
Yeah.
You got to work. You're just going to sit back and twiddle your thumbs and wait for something to come along or hope something sticks. That's okay too.
Yeah.
But that's not the way that's going to get you there earlier, faster.
Yeah, true. And
you got to work it.
When I talk to the youth, and I tell them sometimes that, the door that you envision that you're going to walk through for your success may not always be the door that actually opens up for you. Sometimes that front door that you envision may be the cellar window. It may be the attic. It may be the roof. It may be a hole in the side of the house through a wall. You never know. As long as you're diligently working towards something and you're putting the work and effort, it will come. You just have to be open enough to see the opening and make the move.
Yeah, and be flexible. And when I was in the Army as an Army officer, I used to tell my folks, max flex. You need to be maximum flexibility to adjust. If you're so rigid in a way, then you won't be able to adjust to make it, to turn that into a successful opportunity, whatever. You'll stop. So you have to be flexible. So max flex in addition to what you just said. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mr. Tim Perez, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for your time and your energy. And God bless you and your family, and happy holidays.
Hey, same to you, man. Bless you. And I'll be either chatting with you on text or on the Instagram or on Facebook or somewhere. We'll meet up for a beer or a cup of coffee. Yeah. I haven't had beer and coffee yet, but we could try that too. Hey, have a great Christmas.
Next time I come down to the South, before I actually land good and get my bearings, I'll text you or call you before I actually get down there. Maybe we can make some.
Do that. Yeah.
I will.
Yep. Send me. And to everybody checked in to watch us talk and listen to us, thank you. Appreciate it. And y'all have a great Christmas too.
And I normally do that toward the end. I got thrown off a little bit. Do some shout outs. Anybody you want to thank, wishes to, anything.
I would say that all those people that are trying to do what you just mentioned that I want to do, those out there that are trying to work, bless you, work it. Find a way to make it work for you. Don't take it personal. You got to remember it's business. If you take one on the chin, get up, shake that stuff off, and keep driving on, because it'll happen for you. If you keep working, it'll come to you.
Mm-hmm. And
make it work. Find a way to make it work.
That's right. And if people want to follow you and keep up with you in your career, where can they follow you?
At Tim Perez ATP on Instagram and on Facebook. It's the same. At Tim Perez ATP.
Okay. All right, Mr. Tim Perez. Absolutely. Be blessed, brother. Thank you.
All right. We'll see y'all. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.